I'm now at 40 something. I have a wife, I have 2 kids. I cannot afford to leave and I hate my job. But I cannot afford to take any pay cut because if I move into a different industry, I will start from scratch. So without a doubt, you can see it in his face. Regretted not trying something a lot younger because he was just chasing excellence.
Welcome back to Wise and Shine. I'm your host Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut.
And I'm Dawn, Budget Babe. So I know on this whole channel, Wise and Shine, we've been talking about personal growth, personal development, and excellence. But today we're going to deviate a little bit and talk about being average.
That's why we get the most average guy in
Thanks,
So
guys.
mean.
Thank you.
I did not say that, okay? But this is not Mr. Average, so let's introduce him.
Hey folks, Rakaesh here. You've seen me in TFC market updates and a few other things with TFC. I am a salesperson for a tech company.
Also, now you're taking on the I'm a salesperson for a tech company.
I mean, you told me to say that, right?
Yeah,
So
no, I never.
Scripted.
Not all become my tai chi. Everything my problem. Not all my cancer.
I think he started taking on that head after that episode.
Yeah. But yeah, today we want to spend a little bit of time to talk about a topic that has been on the topic sheet for a long time.
I think since the very beginning, which was when Wise and Shine first started.
Yes. So it's like the genesis of the podcast.
we really dug deep for this one, right?
really.
Trying to figure out things stuff.
Today we're going to talk about the topic that personally it bothered me for a long time, right? And the topic is, will you regret being average?
I think not just you. A lot of people probably struggle with that question as well, but don't want to publicly admit it. So if that's you guys, then today's episode is for you.
Yeah, must like, share, subscribe. The genesis of today's episode was, I think there was a point in time in my life that I was trying to ask myself, like, is it okay that if you end up average, right? Like I talk to myself, like, I'm one of those people, right? So don't like that, right? So then it swung, right? Sometimes it was like, oh, yeah, okay, average, never mind. Sometimes like, cannot, like, why are you average, right? So it was like a back and forth. I eventually settled on this idea that I will not regret being average. I will regret if I never tried to be outstanding. Because being average is an outcome. Eventually, whatever happens. Like it or not, I will take it. I may not love it, but I will not regret it. I will accept it. But I will regret if today or as soon as I was conscious about all these complex things, that I never push myself to be outstanding, right? So essentially, I lay the ground that the opposite of average is outstanding. Now, of course, there's the other side, which is below average. That's a different discussion, right?
Yes.
So yeah, what is your take? Will you all regret being average?
I definitely will regret.
Really?
Yeah, but I had
so
to...
definite.
Let me color it a little bit,
please.
Okay? So my view is that I will regret being average, especially if not just because I tried or didn't try, but because deep down I believe that I can be outstanding.
Jang.
Wow. So you have to get an average person to counter this.
Yeah.
No, I believe it's all in the mind. Okay? And that really comes from my background, my childhood.
Please share, if you don't mind.
So, I think we all grew up in the same era where Adam Khoo taught a lot in our schools, right? I remember something that really struck me back then, I was in primary school, was this exercise where we can all do it together if you guys want. Let's all try now. You put your hand in front.
Which hand? Never mind.
Any.
Don't be an
Okay.
idiot, right?
And you just swing it to your maximum.
Okay,
now you feel and take note of where it is. So now then, let's move back again. Right, now close your eyes. Imagine you can now go even further. Visualize in your mind your hand going even further than where it was previously. Okay, and now without opening your eyes, put your hand out again and then move it again to your max.
Cannot, my torso too tight.
Okay.
The cupboard in the way.
Yeah.
Actually, I can see yours move a little bit.
Cannot.
Oh, is
His
it?
cannot, but I think that's because his mind is blocked.
Yeah.
You just refuse to do the exercise.
Because he hates Adam Khoo.
I can say as a kid, doing that exercise was just like wow for me. Because it made me realize, hey, I can achieve anything I want just by visualizing it. And then of course must work lah.
Yeah.
Right? That transformed my entire perspective on life.
Or you could be that another awakening is that you as a kid you don't know a lot of things. You know, but at that point in time, this would have wowed you, right?
Yeah,
So
it
I
was.
totally
And I was young,
get it.
right? I was in primary school.
Yeah.
And that cemented my belief in myself ever since. That
By
I
doing
could
that,
be,
you are extraordinary.
No,
you could be
that
outstanding.
showed me that I can be
Okay.
outstanding.
Okay.
And I can say for sure, ever since that breakthrough, right, all the other accomplishments I've had in my life has been a lot more smooth sailing.
Serious.
I think it's a mindset.
Okay, then I must join lah.
It's a mindset.
My life
thing.
not so smooth. Always very hard, right? Wow, like story like that.
Really, really.
Yes.
And like, okay, I didn't really, I shared this only with the closest people. But, you know, I was always an average student. And I always thought like, yeah lah, I'm just average lah. I'm not the smartest. You know, all my ranking all average. If the class got 40, I'm like 20 or 21. You know, average lah, right in the middle,
yeah.
okay? Whereas my sibling was always like top few. And my parents used to compare us. So I was like, she's the outstanding one. I'm the average person. But after that opened my mind, I was like, I can be outstanding. I then went on to become a straight A student, a scholar, and I could excel in everything that I put my mind to it. The key thing is I put my mind to it and I work hard. Yeah, so that's my belief. My self-belief is that I can be outstanding, so I will regret if I was average. Now that I know that. But if I hadn't known that or discovered that, then maybe I would have just, you know, self-console myself. It's okay to be average. It's okay to be 20 out of 40. Yeah, everyone must take a place. I'm here so that someone else doesn't need to take that place.
Oh my god, that's an idea.
I used to tell myself that.
Wow, okay.
Right, someone has to be in that place.
Okay, fair. Interesting. But I
Yeah.
think the one keyword is you must work hard also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, so it's not just thinking and
Visualizing
believe
isn't
and, you know,
enough.
visualizing
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not enough, right?
Yeah.
But I get it. Yeah.
What about you?
I think if you ask me that at 20, at 30, at 40, at 50, I might have different answers. That's maybe my view on it, right? But before that, we also must understand what we mean by average.
Yeah, we never
We
define.
need to define, because average is very subjective. Remember, I think it was a few years ago, an article for this, I think this guy that needed help. And I think he went on one of those websites where you can donate to him. And he was saying that, you know, he was unable to pay for his house, his car, and his kids for education. Turns out he stays in a semi-D. He has a Ferrari, and his kids go to international schools.
That's why I
Right?
cannot
And for
afford.
him, that's average, because his friends were wealthier. Right? But everybody else, clearly he got publicly shamed because, well, where he is.
Yeah.
For him, that's average, though, if you look at it at his point of view. So we need to also define what we mean by average.
So is that then valid? Okay, so I think the discussion is between absolute average, right? That means we
Or national average. right?
taking the whole statistics, right? Are you the average, right? So that is the absolute average, and the other one is relative average, right? Relative to the people around you, given your life scenario, you are the average one, right? So where are we taking this?
And in all fairness, my mind on average moves on a day-to-day basis, even before even talking about this topic, right? That we were talking about, because I'm lucky that firstly I have a job, and nowadays in Singapore, I think today Straits Times just came out to say, I think 22% claimed some sort of no work compensation or something, no pay compensation, something along these lines.
Which is no shame. I think
In
we need to
2022,
we do need to expand some level of social support, right? Because that's a different discussion, but yes.
Correct. No shame on that. But I think it just goes to the point where having a job nowadays is actually a good thing. But at the same time, maybe your friends are earning more than you, so you don't feel that. So on an absolute level, yes, I'm lucky, but I know there's one step more I can go, and therefore I feel I should get there. So now I feel like I'm average or even below average.
Okay.
So should we go, for the sake of this discussion, the average being where our eyes is looking at, and hence the average within that sphere of vision?
Okay.
Or should we then go with national statistic average?
I think the first discussion is more interesting.
The eye, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Subjective.
everyone looks at it differently.
Yes. I think that is a more interesting. Although I understand to have an objective discussion, you want the kind of national average, but
But in reality, and for most people and you guys listening
Yes.
to this podcast, it's probably where we are viewing. So
Yes.
it's within our vision.
amongst your kawan-kawan, right, a whole bunch of you, like you are the average one, you're not outstanding, you know, all that. I think that is a more valuable discussion today. Yes.
Yeah.
And if I were to answer that question, then I probably say I would not regret being average.
Is it because
Among
your
my-
vision is too up there? It's a Ferrari.
Very
It's a semi-D, right?
You just said you got the most average person.
I did not say that. He say that.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
And for me, I would in my kawan-kawan, in my just my circle. If I am the average or the below average one, is great for me because then I get to learn. I get to do new things. And
That's a great
for
perspective.
me, that's my mindset when you look at kawan-kawan or anything else. And I want to talk about that. But the other topic that I think we should get on is right what I said at the start. At 20, what do I mean by average? At 30, what do I mean by average? At 40, what do I mean by average? Right? At 20, I didn't want to be average. No way, Jose. Right? I want to be the best. I want to excel at everything, and I'll keep going until I get there. Nothing is going to stop me like a bullet train. But as responsibilities come in, you realize other priorities. It's like, when you're a kid, you want a Rolex or you want a Ferrari or you want a Aston Martin.
Really?
Or,
I thought kids just want to watch Digimon.
okay, when I was a
You
kid.
don't know what Digimon these days.
now it's what? Upin,
Paw
Lupin,
Patrol,
or Didi and
Louie.
Friends or something.
I mean, but okay, coming back to the point at hand.
Yes.
20, I want to do the best. Right? At 30, I valued my time. At 20, I didn't. I work constantly. My body could take it, this and that. As you grow older, you're like, okay, I'm dedicating this amount of hours to work. I'm dedicating this amount of hours to meet my friend. I'm dedicating X number to travel and relax. And at that point in time, that means I don't move as fast in my career, for example. And therefore, I lag back compared to my friends. That's okay because I have other priorities in my life.
So then you will not regret.
Yeah.
Because that is a key word in the
Fair.
discussion, right? Will you regret?
Yeah. And I probably wouldn't at that point in time because I have other priorities that I'm happy with. Right? But at 20, looking back, right? If at 20, I didn't quit my PwC job. Right? I didn't start my company, didn't learn what I learned there and took that leap of faith, which ultimately ended in failure anyways. But the learnings that came from it, I felt, even though set me back from my friends who were, earning a lot more than me. I was earning measly $500 a month.
Startup life, very hard.
Startup life,
Very
right?
gung-ho, yes.
But for me, at that point in time, I looked at it as less on monetary point of view in terms of being average, more on what I'm learning on a day-to-day basis. And I don't regret that at all.
Okay, fair.
I like that point of view. If you're average, then you can see upwards and aspire upwards. I've never really thought of it.
Isn't that an average person's viewpoint?
Wow.
You just have
Bring
to
this
go
home,
there, right?
That's what you said, wow, right? Like I'm 20, someone must fit the place. I'm just echoing your view in a different context. That's an average person's viewpoint. Wow, I average, so I can look up. Right? Yeah. But okay, let me hash out my before she quit. Let me
Next time we can do a compilation how many times Dawn
yeah, you
rolled her
roll
eyes in all the
right.
podcasts.
That could totally go viral. Like Dawn rolls eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one go viral. But yeah, so I think the question, the interesting part about this question is that there are two parts, right? First thing is your outcome, right? Which is average, right? That means you are in the middle of the pack, in the assumed average that you are in, right? Because that's how we define
the assumed
average that
nice.
you're in, right? So that is the average, right? So that is the outcome. But the key word is the regret. Like, will you regret it, right? And so in my point of view, when I think about this question, right, for a long time, I was like, I cannot be average. Why be average? Right? Yeah, you got to do yourself a disservice being average. But as I develop as a person and try many different things and then I realized that actually what I believe is a little bit more on the other side of like, I have the opportunity to be outstanding. I should do it. Right. And by extension from there, then I will be able to see how far I can go. So I don't want to regret or do a disservice to myself for my potential progress. Right. That is my take.
So you don't regret the outcome, but you regret not having tried.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of people out there. Like a lot of people when I talk to them, they're like, if I could be like you, or if I could, don't be like me. Okay, that's the first thing, right? Don't idolize, and like this is never financial advice, right? Like, who said it? Entertainment purposes only, right? Don't. I'm nowhere near what you want me to be. Whatever in your head, right? So that is that.
They say don't meet your heroes, right? This is one.
Don't. No, that day I was at the gym and then someone asked me, "Are you the financial coconut?" I was like, whoa, I'm just gymming here. like not that you cannot say hi. You can say hi, but I don't know how to react. Okay, but anyway, that's a different discussion. So I think for a lot of people out there, their regret is not in the outcome that they are in, but it's in their
The lack of trying.
at the point in time. So then when they look back at it, it's like, yeah.
What if only I had tried, would today be different?
True, but the subject here is average though, right?
Yeah. So not below average, is it?
Do they think that they're average in this case because they haven't tried and therefore having those regrets, right? I think that's another point. Yeah, I met a CFO. So I was, back in my...
So random. I met a CFO the other day. Very random.
Back in my previous life as an
average,
auditor.
Yeah, very average. Very average. Yeah.
Okay, so back in my previous life as an auditor, obviously I want to do, CFA and what they call Chartered Financial Analyst, right? It's a certification you need to do.
Which is very hard to get.
Very hard to get. And so you go for these meetups, so on and so forth, and you create cliques to study together, etc., etc. And I met a CFO who has finished level 3, but he comes back for the community. And he helps you with your studies and etc. We started speaking, and I said, I'm thinking about running a startup at this point in time. This was 2016, 2015, and he was like, you know what, Rakaesh, do it. And he said, though, I'm now at 40 something. I have a wife. I have 2 kids. I cannot afford to leave, and I hate my job. But I cannot afford to take any pay cut because if I move into a different industry, I will start from scratch, and then your level is already here. So without a doubt, you can see it in his face. Regretted not trying something a lot younger because he was just chasing excellence.
I like what you said earlier on about how at each stage or at each age, the answer might differ as well.
Yeah.
I think because we are predominantly, I would guess like most of our audience are between 20 to 40.
25 to 38 around there.
Yeah,
Yes.
so 20s, 30s,
yeah.
40s, right? This group, right? Where at this stage of life whereby it's all about that pressure to excel, pressure to be the best, and
So
hence
pressure.
we may regret being average because it could be a signal that we haven't tried hard enough or that we didn't try hard enough.
Right.
But then later on, as we go into our 50s and 60s, where our physical limits may then start to be a bit more obvious, don't say no lah, huh? Last time you
Have
leave
one.
120 kg, no issues.
No
then
feel
now
one.
you leave,
No,
you
now
bring
the
that
NTUC buy the 10 kilo rice, come back, you also tak boleh tahan already. But it's, oh my goodness, what just happened?
I mean,
Yeah.
you drink on a Friday night, you need Saturday, Sunday to recover.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, let's be honest, guys.
Last time it's like Friday, Saturday, both days
Yeah,
lah,
yeah. Sunday,
guys.
don't
Why
sleep,
choose?
Monday go to
Let's
work.
go. No, cannot. Really cannot. Really,
yeah,
really.
I think at a certain stage in life when we start to be more aware of these,
We're a boomer
then
show now.
people will be less harsh on themselves at having regretted being average. And like what you said, they may be average in some parts, but not the others. You probably don't regret being average in one aspect because maybe on the family side, you have a beautiful family. That's not average at all because some families have so many complicated problems, right?
Yep.
But you don't. So you realize and recognize that you have this privilege, you have this blessing here, and hence something's got to give. You can't be 100% everywhere.
Yeah, I like that because I feel like at some point you will start to realize that you as a person is not one facet.
Yes.
Right? And more often than not, as to why is it defined this way, like family, career, or why is it segregated this way? That is a different discussion. But more often than not, you are segregating your lives into different baskets, right? Or different buckets, right? Like whether you have a loving family, whether you have a successful career, whether you have a great friendship, whether you have a good body, all that is kind of... And at some point, you need to realize that in order to succeed in a few of them, others need to be average or even below average.
Yeah.
What's the opportunity cost?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's the part that a lot of people struggle with. And I have said this again, I want to repeat it, right? Don't copy from successful person A how to do career, copy from successful person B how to do family, copy from successful person C how to do fitness, and then think you can be the product called ABC. I believe that if person ABC does not exist as a full person in totality, this person is not real.
Yeah.
Right? Because in order to pursue career success A,
Something's got to give.
yeah, you gotta give.
Of course.
Yeah.
You gotta give. You gotta have no time for maybe your family a bit less, or for your friends a bit less. That's why most of your friends end up as workplace people.
I like what you said earlier on about how you wouldn't regret either because of the number of hours, right? Could you? I mean, you said that before we started recording, but you want to put that in again?
Yeah. And so for example, in your 20s, when you have less responsibilities and still growing up, and still figuring out what you want to do, etc., you will spend whatever it is, 7 days a week working, as I did with my startup, so on and so forth. and you keep going because time value or the opportunity cost of time isn't there. But as you progress, you realize other priorities, right? Like what I said, at 20s, you might want to buy a Ferrari. Or at 16, you said, I'm going to be that guy owning a GCB, buying a
20s got
Ferrari.
Camry very good already. 30s, not bad lah. Got some Toyota car, 4 wheels.
You got car.
Good enough. What like they paise. By the 50s, got some scooter. Very good already, right?
And at that
So
point in time,
sad.
your priorities differ, right? Because you realize, actually, you know what? The car thing doesn't make me happy, right? And
Putting in 20 hours at work doesn't make me happy.
Exactly. Right. The car thing. So that's monetary. Then there's time. And time is so important. Like what, Reggie, you were saying, right? It's opportunity cost and purely on time alone. Whatever you do, you need to put in the time. Right. And if you take a look at, a simple example is say Michael Jackson, right? He got really famous at a young age. Very, very young age from the Jackson 5s. But he didn't have a childhood. He didn't have a childhood at all.
Most of them don't
most
have.
of them. And if you carry on what he's been doing in Neverland,
That's why
and
he's so
everything
messed up after that.
Yeah,
Right,
it's got effects, right?
Yeah.
On my era, I would look at Britney.
Yes.
Britney's so messed up for a period of time, right?
So
and all the discussion. That's a different
So
discussion.
is Britney average? Is Britney successful? Right? If you look at a different point of views, it's also very, very different.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying Wise and Shine so far. I'm your host Reggie, aka your chief financial coconut, and for us to continue to do this show so that you become a tad bit wiser every week, you gotta like, share, subscribe, help us beat the algorithm. But even more importantly, if you can, comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts and also some questions that you would love us to answer. Yep, now back to the show. I think the other side of the discussion is also like, what about below average?
Actually, I want to bring up one thing
Yeah.
first. I love the below average point, but it's something in us going to school in Singapore, etc., that I think is ingrained in us to be successful. And
I don't see a problem with that, but please go for it.
yeah, I'm just saying like that is ingrained in us. That's culturally ingrained in us, right? Growing up, you have to be the top 10% to go into EM1, and then there's a whole hoo-ha about it.
Yeah, but you see, someone needs to be at the 20th.
That's you lah.
I went out.
Okay. I think that shapes who you are as you're growing up. But that slowly changes when you realize, hey, you know what? Study is not really the only thing in life. But at the age of 0 to 20, that's really all you do, right? And realize that's it.
Yeah, and I would argue that actually these kind of ideas, right, they develop when you don't succeed.
Yes.
When you're on the high, when you're moving, it's like go, go, go,
Like what I
right?
say lah, I was
Yeah.
20 years, so I tell myself someone has to take that place.
Yeah,
Right?
and I'm not saying that in a sense that it is inferior. No, I'm just saying that everybody needs stories to live. So if you are not succeeding, then you have to have these kind of stories to support you. To live. If not, you change another game, lah, right? If you change another game and you start to succeed, right, then the stories in your head will shift. And that's what I've experienced, right? From a shit show, I hold on to certain stories to live, right? But as I move up, what people will call success, then the stories change, whatever that sits in my head start to develop. It's like, hey, actually, like that, it changes, right? And I think that is something that is important for people to recognize, which is where I think a big part of the regret elements start to come in. Like down the road, then you realize that, oh yeah, maybe it could have been this, could have been that, which is all true, all valid. But
I think also to expound on that, right? Because regret is ultimately an emotion, right? How come the what's that movie again? We always quote that movie.
Inside Out.
Yes, Inside Out.
Oh, Love Inside
How
Out.
come
Yes.
regret is not one of the
There is a technical definition to emotions.
Oh, so it's a blend of something.
Regret is not based upon that technical definition.
Alright.
Yeah. So the 5 emotion, there is some psychologist, I can't remember who, he defined it that way.
Right.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, fundamentally, regret is an emotion, right? And I think if we disconnect that from the outcome, or you disconnect the feeling of regret, negative, to the word average, you can be happy being average. You can be happy being average, doing something that brings you joy, but yet you're average in. And I have a story for that. I loved dancing as a kid, right from young actually. But then my very first CCA was Chinese dance, because last time don't have hip hop or all that. Okay, my era different. I know now have. So I was in Chinese dance, and it required the female dance, and it was all female, by the way. It required us to be able to split. I could not split.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could not. I only achieved my first ever split in uni. Yeah, but the people around me could split. So I was one of the very few. I below average, not even average.
Yeah.
Okay, but and as a kid, it affected me so much because how come she got the front lead role and I'm just the 3 behind? Because I cannot split. Not below average.
Very good.
So
Then I put you behind the scene.
Yeah, I'm the last, the furthest from the front stage. Because I cannot split.
Yeah.
So I gave up. Right, and then later on in uni, I was like, actually, why I give up? Like what you said, regret not trying, right? So I went for it again.
Going.
But this time I was more conscious that I'm probably an average dancer. And because I told myself that story probably to live through it, all I wanted to do was pass the audition, get into the dance club. I don't have to be casted as the lead, but I just want a position, you know? And those stories that I told myself helped me to enjoy the whole dance journey. So I enjoyed dancing, even though I was never casted as the lead. I think I only probably got like sub-lead once or twice. So I really was average or below average dancer, but I loved it. And it made me happy. And I never regretted any of it. I never regretted spending so much time. Like my mom used to ask me, why are you spending so much time on dance? It's not like you're going to be a dance instructor. It's not like that pays you, right? It's not like going to be a professional dancer. And I was just like, it just makes me happy. And I didn't regret any of the time I invested in dance or money, because it costs money to go for all the dance class and everything as well. So I think if we disconnect our identity and we accept that there are certain limitations, we can be happy and not feel any regret at being average or below average.
Yeah, fair. I totally agree. But I also want to add another texture to this discussion, right? Where I think a lot of times when people think about regret, right, there's a certain sense of hopelessness. You know, like I cannot go back and turn and change things.
And I can't do anything now
I can't,
about it.
Yeah. So, no, and then that's the second facet, right? The first part is, I know what has happened. I cannot do any changes to it. And a lot of people stop there. And that is where the regret will manifest very significantly.
Like the CFO story lah.
Yeah, but actually, if you already accept where are you now today, you can do changes to where are you now, right? Like you cannot change the past, but you can adjust for the future.
Correct.
Right? And I think these two things are not mutually exclusive. Like you can accept where are you today and, make the changes and hope for a better future or work towards a better future, right? And that's the part where I think when a lot of people entertain this idea of regret, there's always this element of like hopelessness, like I don't really want, although I do say hope is not a plan. Yes, hope is not a plan, yeah. But hope keeps you going on some level, right? And I think that's the part where, if you think about it, you can actually make those changes today and adding to what you say, like even if you're average, so what, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you choose your battles. There are certain things that you would love to be average, certain things you want to be extraordinary, and I think
some things to be below average.
Yeah, it's fine, right? So as long as you are comfortable where you are, I think that's okay. And I think regret does come with the expectation and the performance, the difference of it. There's one element of that, and also an element of hopelessness that you cannot do any changes. I think that's where the vision
also comes in, because if you ask me that question, right, I'm very sensitive about my weight and my figure, but that's because my vision, right, is where I see the perfect. There are a lot of influencers and real women and mothers I know who have amazing bodies, who don't even look like their mom, where's that mom pouch and everything. And then at the other extreme, I see also those where if you look and you know that
mom,
real
mom.
You can see the mom pouch. They're busy, haggard, no time to exercise, no time to look after themselves because they're running around with after the kids all the time. I see that in my view, and hence I look at where I want to be, and because this is my average line, right? So I just aim to be somewhere here. I'm not here, but I'm just somewhere above average and I'm happy. Maybe then we might redefine. What is he looking at?
No, it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, maybe because,
so he doesn't have a skill.
Maybe that's why. No, maybe to him, he is average or above average because he's line, but you and him, you're looking at different lines.
But I think to bring it back, right, what we've been talking about today is very, very subjective. It's very, very inward looking, if you think of it that way. The average line is whatever you define to be your average line.
That's why it's assumed average,
Correct.
right? We're going with that definition.
It's whatever you define to be your average line. And as long as you play out your priorities and realize that something's got to give and something you want to excel in because that's your P0 as opposed to other things which are your P3 or P4. And as long as you play within that line, you can then therefore define and be okay with being average.
I think also I want to add, right? As a parent, we need to recognize, unfortunately, that not every child is going to be excellent.
No, I think even as adults, you need to realize that you're not excellent.
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, different. Because adults, we are capable of moderating
Rationalizing,
ourselves,
yeah,
telling stories for ourselves. But the kids can't. As a parent, we need to also recognize, as much as we would love to think our kid is the next president or the next big world changer, the next rich person.
President of Block 455.
But we must also acknowledge
not that what say, right?
Some of our kids may very well turn out to be average. And we need to learn how to talk to them better so that they don't view that as a bad thing. Like what you said, I think it comes in helping the kid recognize that, hey, there are many different facets, many different areas. You may be average, like my 20 out of 40 in school, in your academics, but you're a great basketballer. You're a great musician. And we need to help our kids through that so that later on, as they then become adults, they can tell these stories to themselves, because what we say to our kids now become their inner voice later on.
Also, the other thing is, from what I understand, it could be the mothers that want them to be better and they are happy with it. Or their parents that want them to be better because they want the kid to be the best at everything.
So we have to be careful not to push that too much also.
I think a lot of parents need to realize, I'm not a parent, right? But what's the probability? The highest probability is your kid will turn out like you. Right? So that is the highest problem. And if you have not cracked a lot of the problems...
What if the parent both extreme opposites attract, right? What if one very successful, one below average? Then the kid ends up... like,
depends on who they hang out with more.
Who's genes?
I think that is that's genetics, right? But there's epigenetics, right? Which is a different discussion. But and that would, I think, a lot of times depend on who spends more time with the kid.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good...
Yeah, and then the kind of ideas
which
that
sometimes might be the below average because the outstanding no time.
It's outside,
busy working.
Right, yeah, and then you come back and then you look at kids like, why you so cha-cha?
It's a vicious cycle.
But actually, because you never spend more time with the kid, whoever your spouse is, which in your worldview is inferior or below average or different from you, spends more time with the kid.
I think as we need to recognize this, it's a very important point that I think a lot of times we beat ourselves up for being average or below average because we only look at one thing and we forget that, hey, we also have other strengths, we also have other things in life, and no one, right, as you rightfully pointed out, no one is 100% A, B, C. No such person exists.
But yeah, so okay, in closing, I think we have hashed out quite a few angles, which I love it. In closing, if let's say our audience already accept that, okay, whatever has happened, today I'm where I am. In order not to continue to feel regret, I want to do more. I want to move towards what I want, right? And what would you advise them to do? To be outstanding again.
Must use that word, right?
Yeah, in whatever that you are going for, because I don't think everybody is aiming for the same thing, right? So yeah, if someone wants to be outstanding in whatever that they aim for, what would be advice that you have for them?
My advice would be to try. But you need to try knowing what the opportunity cost is. So I'll give an example. In my work with a lot of people, so I do weight loss and I help people lose weight, right? So in that line of work, I always see that people have very idealistic expectations, but they're not willing to, and they regret. They're like, I miss my pre-partum body. Or they're like, I wish I was 45 kg again. Then I ask them this question, in what year will you last 45 kg? Then they say, 2000. My face just changed. Yeah. I mean, not like they see my face, but it's true, right? Because your expectations have to align with what you're willing to do to get there. So whenever I encounter cases like that, I always tell them, okay, so this is your goal. This is your dream, your ideal. But to get there, you need to, like a 20 years ago thing, you need to get your metabolism back to where it was 20 years ago. Are you willing to do that? And then they'll ask, what does it take to do that? And when I tell them about what needs to be done to get their metabolism back there, obviously you can't undo time. You can't go back to when you were a kid and puberty and metabolism very, very high. But there are some things you can do to slowly make it, to speed it up, right? And when I tell them those steps, most people are not willing to do it. Yeah. So I think if you regret, because your eye is set on the line, but you need to recognize that you need certain effort, what you need to do to try and get there, what you need to give up as well. Sometimes it could be in terms of weight, giving up chocolates or your favorite roti prata and everything to get there. And if you're not willing to do that, then either shift your line or get rid of that regret. Accept. Yeah, that would be my advice.
My advice is, if you want to be outstanding in something that you're currently not in, you need to give up something else. So really looking at your life, and I'm going to look at this very holistically, looking at your life, put in your priorities, put in your motivations, put in where you want to spend time. And where you notice that time is going to be spent, more often than not, the most time for the topic that you want is probably where you're going to excel in, is what I believe in. And I think you should be accepting of that, because where you're putting in the time is so personal. It's innately it's your identity. So that's what you have to accept. And that can change year on year. And just going through this revision process as each self will grow ourselves personally.
Yeah, you know, there's this motivational saying that if you look at the most successful people and then they throw in all the successful ones, right? But I'm not going to name names because our version of successful people might not be the same as everyone else. But they name the names and then they will tell you, you know what you and them have in common? 24 hours.
Rubbish.
But it's true. It's
true.
a fact, right?
That
But
is
I mean,
a fact,
that
but-
being a motivational speech or whatever you call it, if you reverse it on the other end, it also is a personal choice. It also shows the limitations because they can choose to put in 20 hours and hence you admire them for their success that comes from that 20 hours every day times 7. But you are only willing to put in 1 hour. I have no right, honestly, I feel I have no right to admire the mom who looks fantastic and not like a mom at all because she exercises so much more
because
than me.
she don't have a full-time job.
Maybe.
Right.
And she has, or maybe her full-time job is in fitness.
Yeah.
So she
So
spends
she's
more
at the
time.
gym half the time. If you're at the gym half the time and if you're not fit, I will never sign up with you.
And also
No
maybe
ROI.
because
Yeah,
of her
like, Adil,
genes.
what is this? Right? So, and that's the part that I think needs to be highlighted because a
Yeah.
lot of times we look at the outcome.
Yes, but we
Right.
never look at the process and what it takes.
Yeah. And a lot of these people, it's not the same 24 hours.
Yes.
They got 1,000 people under them chonging, right? And they take a part of all their success, right? So it's not the same 24 hours. Wake up from that kind of delusional ideas, right? But it is not wrong to say that you have 24 hours, right? And
Yes.
within your capacity, what are you going to do?
How are we going to allocate?
How are you going to
budget?
allocate? Yeah, how are you going to
Yeah,
budget
read
it out?
Budget Babe.
right? Yeah.
sgbudgetbabe.com for I didn't actually know. I don't know about time budgeting.
Yeah. But it's fair.
No,
it's
time
fair.
budgeting is key.
It's
It's a
key.
key
Very,
thing, right?
very important. Yeah.
So I think for me, right, I got a very, very simple thing, a very practical one. You better make sure your goal, your success, the person that you want to emulate is real, and you go and talk to them. And then you follow them like a dog as much as possible. Learn, suck up everything, and then take it from there.
Just
Because-
don't get the what's that clause? Ho-ha, is it?
Yeah. Don't disturb them lah, say, right? They must be willing, right?
Don't cut
Reggie,
out
which
your
gym you
harassment.
in?
yeah.
People don't want to emulate you.
No,
Then
I,
which gym?
I'm
Okay.
not in the, I can't, don't emulate, okay?
No, keep looking
But
at
yeah,
the gym person until
No, the gym person stressed already. I see a lot of comments below. But yeah, I feel like that is a big part of the reality at play. If this person does not exist in real life, this thing is a dream, right? It's haven't manifest yet. Doesn't mean in the future there will not be someone like that. It's just that at this point in time, doesn't exist, right? So my best advice for you is if you want to be like someone, make sure that person is alive. You can talk to that person.
and understand not just in one area, but
Yeah,
I think the
different
time
facets
thing
of
is
their
great.
life.
Yeah,
Yes.
how do you spend your time is a
Yes.
great question to ask.
Yes, and get the whole story because more often than not, their public image will not have the whole story.
Absolutely.
Actually, this is a
Correct.
very good networking question 101. How do you spend your time?
Yes.
Okay.
It reveals
Yeah.
a lot more about the person than
Correct.
anything else. What's your job? What's your
Yes.
name? That's just superfluous,
So level,
right?
yeah.
But how do you spend your time reveals so much more about that person. I spend 8 hours every day with my kids. Oh, very different from the person who spends just 30 minutes a day.
Yeah, which explains why your kid is so sociable and so adorable. You spend more
Are
time
you saying
with
the
them.
kid with 30-minute parent not sociable and adorable? Oh, okay, that's it.
Yes, he is.
I think so. I think so. If you work so hard in the office, right? Both parents work so hard in the office, and you delegate this job of taking care of your young kid to a helper. What do you expect out of the kid? What is the kid gonna turn out? Right? But you made a choice. Both of you are at work. Whether or not you whether the choice is a willing one or a situational no choice, you go for the choice. I get it, right? Don't catch me on that.
Yeah.
But
Privilege.
yeah, but the first principle is if you are not going to spend time with the kid, then you don't tell me,
You're upset with him, or you have to accept what his outcome.
Like some of the people think, oh, my kid got Filipino accent. Of course. They spend more time with the maid, and the helper is already very loving to spend time with the kid.
Yeah.
Right? So, but that's a different discussion now. At the end, I hope you don't regret. Okay? Yeah, that's all. That's all for today. Thank you all. Take care.